All right. First thing first, who else thinks the MCU is cooked? Now, personally, there's been a lot of talk about people going about saying how the Fantastic Four didn't make a lot of money. Not only that, but neither did the Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four kind of just not doing that great in the box office. And personally, I think there's no superhero fatigue. I disagree with this right here. It's time to accept that our culture has moved from superheroes. I don't think our culture is ever going to move from superheroes. I think right now we're watching superheroes with capes, but we've definitely always had superheroes, especially back in the 80s, the action heroes and things of that nature. There's always going to be superheroes. Think back to the Greek. The word hero originated from them. Hercules. We have heroes in our DNA as freaking humans, as our society has to be built around them. So I say nay to superhero fatigue. Now, I do think there is Marvel fatigue. Not like Marvel comic book fatigue, but more or less like MCU mediocrity going on with everything that we watch. If you look at this, Fantastic Four First Steps grossed 11.7 million. Fantastic Four sinks 66% from box office. If those statements are true, then yeah, this is not doing so good. The fact that these were such a step up for the MCU and both trilogy worth yet ending up box office flops. Now, I reviewed both these movies. I was pretty generous. I gave them like an 8. Personally, they're kind of like a 7. I gave them an 8 because compared to everything that we had to watch, it was better. It just came off way better. I'm not saying they're not worthy of an 8. I think they innovated and they pushed past and they gave us something that that other things of this phase didn't give us. But in terms of making something iconic, no, these movies are definitely not a 9 or a 10 in those regards. Matter of fact, what I think the issue is that the past phase, and even the phase before this one, is just been mid. It's just been a bunch of stuff that hasn't been that great. When we look at it, Guardians Galaxy Volume 3, really good. Loki, pretty decent. Thunderbolts, really decent. You can even see the scores next to them. A lot of these got like 6s on Metacritic, which I think those are the fan scores, which I think is actually very fair. 6 to high 7s, right? Deadpool and Wolverine. I think Deadpool and Wolverine, I gave it a 10 out of 10. Now hear me out. I gave it a 10 out of 10 because it's a 10 out of 10 for fans. It's more of an event and less of a film. And if you treat it that way, it's really good. I also said in my review that it's not, you can't do something like this again. It's the difference between Infinity War and Endgame. Endgame is an event, kind of like the ending of any big saga. You think of the end, you think of part 2 of Harry Potter. Like it all just feels like most of it's just a callback to the journey we've gone on. And then there's a bunch of things that I think like a lot of people didn't keep up with, didn't know what was going on with. Hey, quick. And you have things like Agatha All Along. I don't think people really like this one. You look at it, it's got like a 5.7. It's even got a 66 with the critics. I didn't even bother to watch it. I wasn't interested in it. There was nothing about it that made me want to go watch it except for maybe some of the cast. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Even though Spider-Man's my favorite superhero, I had no interest in going to watch this either. And it seems like it kind of did the same. It was just okay. Then we have Ironheart. We all know the controversy behind Ironheart, and I want to get back to Ironheart here in a second, but also Captain America Brave New World shows how writing proves that you can make or break something, because Brave New World is just Winter Soldier, but written poorly. Echo, again, just boring to watch. Same with the Marvels. Nothing came from that. These are all, look at, and all these scores are getting 5s. They're all mid. They're all just bad. We didn't enjoy this phase. I stopped watching What If. I watched the first season, started the second season, didn't care. I think Secret Invasion is the worst thing that the MCU has put out with how it's been structured and what we were supposed to enjoy from it. And Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was just another one that was like, it was okay. It was just under passable. Maybe it wasn't my favorite. Here's what I want to go back to is when you put out 13 things for people to watch, and some of these are TV shows, so more than 13 things, and only 2 of them are good, only 3 of them, 4 of them are good, and not even like good. Like if we want to consider like great, Guardians of the Galaxy is the only one that kind of deserves that praise. The other ones are good. But we didn't get anything iconic out of it. I think we've lost a lot of, when I say iconic films, I'm talking about like Captain America: Winter Soldier. I'm talking about the first Iron Man movie. I'm talking about, I got my notes right here. I'm talking about the first Avengers. I'm talking about Infinity War. All that stuff is iconic. All that stuff are movies that you want to own and you would go out of your way to rewatch. There's not much here that feels that way. And when you just keep giving people things that are just mid, they're not going to be excited for what's next. And if you lose that momentum, that's when you start to see things like box office drops, even though you made something that was decent. And that's the issue right now, is that MCU went through a phase where they felt like they could do nothing wrong. They just started pumping out a bunch of content. They should have just started pumping on those brakes and then just giving us a slow roll. I would have been okay with 1 to 2 MCU movies a year, including a TV show. So if we got a TV show at the beginning of the year, a movie at the end of the year, if they just took their time with it. We've seen what it looks like. I mean, Star Wars, they gave us 1 Star Wars a year, and we still wasn't too happy with that. However, the other thing that I think is actually very important is they've used up all the favorite characters. The lineup. There are characters that didn't start off as absolutely amazing. When you think of the top 3 heroes, you think of Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. Those are the most popular heroes in the world, right? But Iron Man was a C-list hero. Iron Man, I remember going to Blockbuster, getting those animated Iron Man movies before the live action came out, and my dad just being like, why are you interested in Iron Man? Okay, well, we'll see where this goes. And I ended up like kind of liking him. I thought he was pretty cool, but there was nothing about him that really spoke to me to start buying comic books that made me want to stop getting my Spider-Man comic books. Marvel, the MCU, turned Iron Man into an A-lister. They turned the Guardians of the Galaxy into an A-lister. With good writing and decent showmanship, you can turn these C-list, D-list characters into A-listers. But we did use up Thor. You know, we did use up Captain America. We used up a lot of the A-listers. And so now we're looking at this right now. And it's like, did people want Agatha all along? And was Agatha all along good enough for us to love her, to turn her into someone that becomes an A-lister? I'm not saying these are as bad as kind of like the Sony verse with the Venom and the Spider-Man stuff like that, but they didn't do Marvel any favors. Now we come full circle to Ironheart. I think Ironheart is a compilation of everything. It's not good. It didn't do well to give us a hero that we would all want to back. And probably the most important thing is it's an example of what happens when you put something in an echo chamber. I think a lot of people underestimate how studios or writers or directors or whatever don't listen to negative critiques. They don't listen to when people are saying we don't like this, and they only listen to those that are praising them. And whenever you have a culture that turns into that echo chamber, you get stuff like Ironheart. A lot of the people, even in the video that I made, in my review for Ironheart, most of the people that disagreed with my points were just saying, oh, well, I like her because she's black and from Chicago and she's poor. just because she has those features, those identifiable traits, does not mean she's a good character. That's like me saying, oh yeah, Hulk's a good character because he's green. Or I can say the reverse. Tony Stark's a good character because he's rich and white and from California or New York, wherever he was from. That doesn't work. That doesn't make a good character. Having something that you could identify with or be relatable with doesn't make you something that people want to be part of. And I think Ironheart did a good job at kind of resting the coffin for Marvel, kind of setting up a really, really bad taste and putting a nail in everybody's just kneecaps and letting everyone know, like, hey, this was the direction we were heading. And a lot of people are just kind of sick of it. A lot of people are just done with it. And to be fair, rightfully so, because it didn't give us anything. It gave us a character that wasn't likable. It gave us a story that didn't teach any lessons. And if it was a tragic hero story, it wasn't something that we necessarily wanted to be part of. Now you come into Fantastic Four, you come into the Thunderbolts, and now we have something that is interesting characters. You even see Marvel executives saying, hey, okay, this might be the direction we're going in writing, but they're just covering plots, you know? And if they don't do something to make it iconic, they are going to continue to bleed money. I don't think this is superhero fatigue because look at Superman. Superman popped off. Superman's going crazy, making money, printing it. People aren't tired of superheroes, and Superman's the oldest superhero that there could be. And most people, and I do think that James Gunn kind of didn't write him to the best of his capabilities, but he wrote him well enough to be likable. So, what do you think? Are you done with the MCU? I'm done with the MCU's current way of writing. Personally, I want them to go back to how they did character writing, how they did Iron Man and Captain America, and how they cared more about the plot, weaving in with these characters and giving us empathy, not because of their identity, but because of the hard choices they have to make as heroes. I want that. I miss that. And until we get more of that stuff back, MCU is going to continue to bleed money. Until next time, YouTube. Play nice.